As I begin to enter into my twilight years, and the wind in my sails seems to become more of a strong breeze these days, I seem to enjoy the fall season more and more with each passing year. The wisdom that I've gained during my time here on this earth seems to grow with each passing year as the physical strength in my body seems to diminish just as quickly. I often wonder why it is that we gain such tremendous knowledge just before the end of life as we know it. Some might say that hindsight is 20/20, but there's no doubt in my mind or in my heart that there's more to it than that. I've always wondered how it is that anyone could even for a moment doubt the existence of the God that is evident within everything that we touch, taste, smell, hear, and see. Philosophers abound, and those who love their own knowledge seem to have grown exponentially within our societies and cultures over generations of time. Man's newfound religion of science and philosophy seems to have stolen the truth from so many that believe that their wisdom is superior to the wisdom of the Creator of all things seen and unseen. It's difficult to understand how it is that men, who are supposed to be the wisest among us, still doubt that God even exists. But even these wise men of today who claim their newfound religion of science to be true and correct are themselves in great error. For it was long ago written, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who by their unrighteousness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world, in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse. For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God, or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools." As the leaves on the trees begin to change color and my world here goes from green to a myriad of colors seemingly overnight, it almost ironically seems to be the same with all of God's creation, including his chosen set-apart people who have long ago been asking and seeking and knocking on his door for the answers to life itself. We, too, seem to become brighter and more beautiful in spirit than we have ever been at the end of our time here on this earth. More thoughtful, more gentle, more slow to anger, and more perceptive to the things around us than ever before. What's truly important becomes magnified, and what is trivial and frivolous begins to wane and slowly becomes of no importance at all. Television, movies, sports, sitcoms, and soap operas, and the things of the world begin to fade off into the background over time. There's no place that I would rather be than standing in a forest full of colors that look like a kaleidoscope of wonder and beauty and majesty. Today's society has made growing old almost a curse to those who think that age will not come to them, consistently fooling themselves into thinking that man's newfound religion of science and philosophy will save them from the grave that God himself has destined them to. And even the majority of those who claim to be Christians today don't even know his name, let alone who he is or what they owe him. The majority of those who carry his Bible in their very hands back and forth to a church on the wrong day of the week, calling it the Sabbath, don't even know his name. Those who claim to know him really know nothing of him. And yet, he wrote his very name in that very same Bible that they carry with them over 6,519 times. How is it that they can love a God whose name that they don't even know? They have no idea and no concept of what the very Bible that they carry with them even says, because most of them have never read it for themselves. They simply trust in someone else to tell them what's in it. The very name of God goes unseen and unknown because of those who have willfully and intentionally hidden it from God's people. And yet, we are all without excuse when it comes to not knowing his name, for it was clearly written long ago. God also said to Moses, "Say this to the people of Israel: Yehovah, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and thus I am to be remembered throughout all generations." And yet, the God that has given us all of this beauty, all of this splendor, the very breath of life that fills our lungs, goes primarily unknown by so many who claim to not only know him, but to love him. So many have been taught so wrongly for so long that what they think that they believe is truly nothing more than a man-made philosophical image created by men who have built for themselves their own God, who knows no justice, has no values, no precepts, no commandments or feast days or Sabbaths, except for the commandments that they themselves have picked and chosen as applicable to themselves. A do as thou wilt is the whole of the law God that was first written about in the devil's Bible itself. A first day of the week Sunday Sabbath commanded by no one at any time, anywhere in the Bible created by Roman Catholicism. A Good Friday created by the Pope of Rome. An Easter created by the Popery of Rome. A Christ Mass created by the Popery of Rome. Advent, Lent, All Saints' Day, and the list goes on and on and on. While the Bible, the spoken word of Yehovah God, shouts loudly from its pages to beware of those who would come like wolves in sheep's clothing, to add to and to take away from God's holy and sanctified and ordained word. They have created an image for a make-believe beast who is really no God at all. And in the process, a new God has risen, a best buddy God, a God who winks in the eye of sin and transgression, a God who has literally thought to change the times in the law of the one true Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Just as Daniel had promised that the beast would do thousands of years ago. I thank Yehovah God for the lessons that he has taught me throughout this journey that he's led me through over the years. And I thank him most of all for the knowledge that his Spirit has poured out upon me in these last days. And I thank him for pouring out his Spirit upon not only me, but so many others who are now being pulled out of the darkness and into his marvelous light, so that we might proclaim the excellences and majesty of who he was, is, and always will be, forever and always. A God whose words do not pass away, nor come back to him empty. A God who is the same yesterday, today, and for always. A God who still demands justice and righteousness to be practiced. a God whose feast days and Sabbaths and appointments have been commanded to be kept forever and throughout our generations, in order to remind us and teach us each and every year about who He truly is and who the King is that He has set on His holy hill in Zion to rule over His chosen, set-apart people, fulfilling the promise that He so long ago made to His faithful servant, David. If there is anything that I can pass on to those whom I have grown to know and love over the years, it is my hope and my prayer that Yehovah God will also slow them down through the gauntlet of time, and that they too would have the same opportunity to experience the sound of that same voice that lingers within my heart and in my soul. To know and to understand that His commandments are not too hard for us, and that He has set before us blessings and curses, life and death. The knowledge of knowing that the choice is ours to make is so tectonically important to understand. And yet, the very decision itself that we have been put here on this earth to make has become so obscure, so confused, so riddled with deception, that the decision of whom it is that we will serve has itself become a matrix of theologies and philosophies and traditions and dogmas of men. The choice that I've made so many years ago is the only choice that I have ever made in my entire life, that has brought me to the peace, love, and joy that I have experienced over the last years of my life. To become the Word of Yehovah God made flesh, just as my Messiah has told me to do by picking up my cross and following Him, has become the goal. To follow after the King that Yehovah God Himself has set on His holy hill in Zion is what true life is indeed all about. And it has become clearly evident that only those who do pick up their crosses and follow Him will ever come to the knowledge of the truth. Television, Hollywood, sports, social media, sitcoms, and soap operas simply cannot hold a candle to the majesty and splendor and the love of Yehovah God, that only He can deliver to those who willfully and intentionally choose to return to Him. I have long ago learned that believing is not honoring Him with our lips while our hearts are far from Him. Believing is an action word, and we are indeed saved by the grace of God through faith. But just as the Apostle James tells us, faith without works is dead. For it is written, "For as the body apart from the Spirit is dead, so also faith apart from works is dead." The dead faith that many today have is a faith that has been created by men and not by Yehovah, the Creator of all things seen and unseen. Dead faith abounds in today's world full of the wisdom of men and their denominational empires. But true faith in the one true Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and His only begotten Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, produces the love of God that we find in 1 John chapter 5, verse 3, that we keep His commandments, and His commandments are not burdensome to us. In the end, life is a journey. It's a span of time that is given to men to learn the importance of who they are and where they have come from. Life is a gift unto men whereby they might make that one single most important decision, as to whom it is that they will serve. And so the question then becomes, who is it that you will choose to serve?